Today marks one of the most interesting chapters in the broader story of Alex Jones's life. Because today he was forced to sell Infowars, which is his network that he hosts on, but also his network that he's the CEO of, that he's been building for years. He has other talent on this network, but he was forced to sell all of it. He sold the trademarks, social media accounts, his studio in Austin, Texas, and even his entire back catalog of old videos. So any clips that you've seen of Alex Jones online, those old videos, now the new buyer is going to have control over the distribution of that and getting to decide if people see those old videos in the future. And the actual buyer is one of the most interesting parts of this story, so we'll get into that in just a second. But let me just remind you why Alex Jones was forced to sell Infowars in the first place. Now, if you remember, several years ago, there was the Sandy Hook shooting that resulted in the death of a bunch of kids. And Alex Jones at the time said a bunch of crazy stuff about the shooting. He said, these kids are crisis actors, their parents are crisis actors, none of this happened, it's not real. He basically called it a false flag event. But we obviously know that Sandy Hook was a real event that happened. So he got hit with the defamation suit from a lot of these parents that were like, our kids are dead, we're grieving right now. How are you gonna call this a false event, right? So he got hit with this defamation case, and initially that case went to civil trial and gave him an insane amount of money to basically pay back to these parents. And that amount was almost $900 million. But there was a second settlement or a second amount of money involved that now that total has been brought up to about $1.4 billion that Alex Jones is supposed to pay to these families through these civil trials, right? Now, obviously, Alex Jones has nowhere near $1.4 billion to his name. Even at the time when he was getting hit with just that first chunk where they said you owe about $900 million, he was telling people, I only got about $2 million to my name. I don't know how I'm supposed to pay $900 million if I only have $2 million. And what's really interesting is after being forced to sell Infowars this week, he said this past Thursday that he's down to his last $200,000. So the government, the courts have forced him to liquidate this asset of Infowars to basically start to pay back that $1.4 billion that Alex Jones now owes. But even after selling that, Alex Jones is saying, I only have $200,000 in my name. I no longer have Infowars, which is my network that I've built up. And one of the most interesting parts about this is who stepped in to buy it. It was The Onion. Now, The Onion, for anyone who might not know, is a satirical news site. They intentionally have false headlines that are supposed to be funny. They're supposed to make you laugh, right? But of all people to step in because Alex Jones had to sell Infowars for basically saying something false happened, it's The Onion, somebody who has fake headlines all over their website. Just a little bit of irony there. But The Onion, they haven't disclosed the amount of money that they bought this for. They're not letting that out, so we don't know how much more money Alex Jones might owe. But what The Onion did that you have to commend them for is they did talk to a number of those Sandy Hook parents and families before making that purchase to make sure that the parents were on board and that the parents didn't view this as, being potentially disrespectful to their relatives or to their families. Now, before I get into any of the kind of opinion side of this, let me just say, it dawned on me today that Donald Trump is now the president-elect of the United States of America. And Trump has done some stuff with Alex Jones in the past to where they're obviously on the same kind of political side, right? The same side of the aisle, if you will. And it dawned on me that presidents have pardoning power. Does President Trump potentially have the ability to pardon Alex Jones from this ruling that's been given to him where now he owes $1.4 billion or whatever is left after selling Infowars? And the answer is no, he doesn't. Even President Trump with his pardoning powers is not going to be able to bail Alex Jones out of the mess that he's got himself into, because not only was this not done in a federal court in an actual criminal trial, but this was done at a state level in civil trials. So the president can't pardon civil trials, and then on top of that, the presidential pardons apply to the federal government or federal trials, but not those state governments, which is, I believe, Texas and Connecticut. So Alex Jones is not going to be able to even get Trump's help on this. He is truly stuck with this $1.4 billion in debt for the foreseeable future. I don't see any way for him to get out of this. Now, is this fair or not for somebody to be burdened with $1.4 billion? Let's talk about it, right? Alex Jones said some nuts stuff, right? Like, Alex Jones has been right about certain things in the past and he's been wrong about a lot. But being wrong about this, that's a really tough thing to defend, right? Alex Jones, you're talking about kids here, right? You're talking about dead kids and their families. You don't want to be disrespectful and say, oh, that didn't really happen, you're fake, you're a crisis actor. That's a pretty inexcusable, indefensible thing to do. However, I'm somebody who believes in redemption, right? As a Christian, I believe that we should all have the chance to be forgiven. And I have to look at this and go, if Alex Jones is stuck with $1.4 billion for the rest of his life, because you have to imagine that Infowars was worth less than $100 million with all of the baggage attached to it, he's still got to owe at least $1.3 billion even after selling off Infowars. You can't possibly saddle somebody with that much burden for the rest of their life and expect them to change their ways or expect them to continue on in a healthy manner. And I'm not saying that Alex Jones didn't do something wrong, because he absolutely did. But I imagine, what if we made it more reasonable? 150 million, 100 million, something to where he could actually work it off and then have the chance to own a business where he's making money in the future and he remembers, I don't want to make that mistake again. I don't want to do the wrong thing again because I'll lose it all again. But at this point, Alex Jones is essentially incentivized to double down, because he's never going to make $1.3 billion back or $1.4 billion back. It essentially puts him in a position where he can never dig his way out of this hole. And how do you expect to give somebody an incentive to change and do better if there's no real light at the end of the tunnel? And I know this video is going to make a lot of my friends on the left a little bit upset with me, because I know that Alex Jones is a very divisive figure. And I'm not defending Alex Jones insofar as I think he should be, declared innocent and the case should be dropped. He obviously made a mistake. But I do believe in treating people fairly and not getting so emotionally charged that we throw the man basically under the jail for the rest of eternity, right? Like, he only gets one life, and if he never has that opportunity for redemption, it's kind of like you're basically painting him into a corner for the rest of his life. And again, this might make some of my friends on the left upset, but Alex Jones has been right about a lot, right? Like, this is not somebody who just goes out there intentionally to spew only fake news. He's been wrong a fair amount of times, right? There's Sandy Hook, obviously, which is atrocious to be wrong about, and it's gross. You have Pizzagate too, another thing that he was wrong about. But he's also been right about a lot. His crazy predictions end up being right a significant number of times, right? You've got Epstein Island and talking about all of the elites that are trafficking people and trafficking kids. Alex Jones was on this for years before we ever figured out about Epstein. He was breaking news on that, talking about there's an island where all of this crap happens, in the middle of nowhere, where the governments, they're all in on it. That really happened, right? He looked too at the Bohemian Grove. Alex Jones infiltrated the Bohemian Grove and showed that, hey, there really are some cult-like rituals happening at the Bohemian Grove with a lot of powerful figures from U.S. politics, bringing awareness to false flag operations. Operation Northwood. If you look that up, Operation Northwoods, there's actually documents leaked from the U.S. government where the U.S. government was thinking about essentially faking an attack on itself from Cuba so that they could go and attack Cuba. This is real stuff. You can go and look this up. Alex Jones was one of these people talking about, hey, false flag attacks do happen way before that was common knowledge of the average American, right? Now, obviously, calling something like Sandy Hook a false flag, absolutely not okay, because it really did happen, and you're dealing with kids, man. You're dealing with families, right? But to say that he's always wrong and he's just some figure that's trying to create, hell for people, I don't think that's fair. He's been correct a number of times in reporting things and trying to get things like Epstein's Island dealt with before people were really privy to that information, Another one is 9/11. Before 9/11 happened, Alex Jones was saying, hey, this is going to happen. You should be aware of this. And then it did happen. That's crazy. Another one is talking about big tech in the government working together to censor certain ideas to kind of stifle free speech online. Well, we saw with the Twitter files, when those leaked, that was really happening. There was the FBI and Twitter working together to really kind of set the agenda of what was acceptable to talk about online and what wasn't. So again, Alex Jones made a massive mistake, and he's definitely wrong for that. He should be held accountable. But I think leaving the man with $1.4 billion that he's never going to pay off in his life, realistically, you're not going to drive change in the man that way. You're not going to give him an incentive to come back and do better. And on top of that, I think based on his record, you can say, he's not always a bad guy, right? He's not always making bad calls or trying to stir up hell for people. He's actually trying to do some good in here too, right? And even if you dislike Alex Jones and you disagree with me on that, who else was talking about Epstein Island, talking about the elites are doing this in the ocean and the governments are in on it before Alex? Nobody. Who else predicted 9/11 before Alex? Nobody. This is somebody that, quite clearly is trying to do some sort of journalistic maneuver to get information out that's not popular, that's going to get him in trouble. And I just think he should be held accountable, but I think 1.4 billion is an insane amount of money that I can't possibly ever pay off. So, seeing Alex Jones sell Infowars today, I think it's actually a good thing. I think it gives him an opportunity to step onto a new path, maybe create a better reputation for himself. Really do a rebrand and hopefully a little bit of soul searching. But I also think at the same time, we gotta make sure that our justice system is fair and that it actually gives people the chance to change and a light at the end of the tunnel to where they can keep working and contributing to the economy. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think below. This is a divisive topic, right? People either love or hate Alex Jones. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. Kind of like the guy, but there's some things he's done where I'm like, I can't get behind that. But he's funny. He's hilarious watching some of his videos. I have to say that. He's just one of the funniest people. But whatever you guys think, make sure to drop a comment below. My name is Mitchell. God bless you guys, and thank you.